Well, welcome everyone. This is Devin Murray with detractmorefamilies.com and another one of my master classes to help you grow your enrollment, have a better school, and create the lifestyle that you are hoping to have. So today we're going to talk real quickly about Net Promoter Scores, or NPS. This is actually something that you've probably seen happen, and you've been asked this question and have never fully understood what was going on in the background. So today we're going to kind of open the doors and show you what's going on. So Net Promoter Score, what is it? First off, it is a customer service metric is really what it is. It's a way to measure how things are going. It's a way to measure essentially customer satisfaction. And now for us, what it is it allows us to measure overall how a school is doing, how happy people are, and then the number itself doesn't necessarily mean anything by itself. It is something that is used to measure against something else. So we can measure over time. We can measure against different variables. So one of the things we can do is measure how well different programs or grades are doing or departments are doing versus other departments. So how happy, what is the customer satisfaction, the English department versus the math department? Think how that can help us understand where we might have a weakness or where we might be able to improve to help our enrollments, to help us retain. We can also look what's the difference as parents move from first to second to third grade. How's that metric going? How are they moving? Are they still enjoying it? Or are they falling off at some point? How about classrooms? We can look at that if we have enough sample size. I'm always a little bit leery of sample size here. But we can look, and if we have very high scores in 3 out of 4 of our classrooms and one has a very low Net Promoter Score, then maybe there's something in that one classroom that's not right. Maybe it's a teacher, maybe it's the classroom, maybe it's some kids in that grade or that classroom that maybe we need to fire some troublemakers. I know some of you do have multiple schools in multiple locations. So for those of you who do, this is also a way that you can measure against different schools. So you can measure the East Side School versus the West Side School. That's okay. So this is just a great metric to know and to see kind of how everything is going and to get a sense for where there's strength and when there's weakness. And this whole Net Promoter Score is based off of one very simple question. And that question, this is a question that I'm sure that you've seen, is what is the likelihood that you would recommend Company X to a friend or colleague? And then it's a 0 to 10 score. So people can answer in, but a lot of times you'll see this when you're logging into a site or at the end of a customer service call. Or sometimes you'll even get an email that just asks this one very simple question. What is the likelihood that you would recommend Ace Academy Denver to a friend or colleague? 0 to 10. 0 being not likely at all. I would never recommend this school, not even to my enemy's kids. To 10, which is extremely likely, which is yes, if I'm ever given the opportunity to, I will recommend. And then we just do a little bit of math. I'll kind of show you the way this works here. So anyone that answers a 0 to 6 is known as a net detractor. So these are actually people who hurt against us, who when given the opportunity probably will speak less than wonderfully about us. But those are the detractors. Anyone who's a 7 and 8 is a fence sitter, or they're neutral is the other term. They don't count good or bad. And then we have the promoters, who are anyone that is a 9 or 10 is a net promoter of our school. And the way the Net Promoter Score is figured out is we take the percentage of promoters minus the percentage of detractors. And that gives us the Net Promoter Score. Really, again, it's just a metric that doesn't mean anything. There is no great number. There is no bad number. But it's a variable that we can look and measure other things against. A higher score is better than a lower score. So just to kind of give you a couple of simple examples here. If we have 100 respondents, we're going to use 100 because it's a nice, easy number for people like me to do math with. But if we have 50 promoters, which means we have 50 people who answered 9 or 10 to that question, we have 20 passives or fence sitters, the neutrals who answered 7 and 8, and we have 30 detractors who answered that 0 to 6. So the net promoter score would be the 50% that are the promoters minus the 30% that are the detractors. So we would have a net promoter score of 20. One that's not quite even math as before. So if this one we have 80 respondents. And again, we still have 50 promoters. So that's 62% of that 80 said that they would promote us a 9 or a 10. We have 10 that are passive, those fence sitters, and we have 20 detractors who answered from 0 to 6. So 20 people of that 80 is a quarter, 25% of them. So the net promoter score would then be the 62% that are the promoters minus the 25% who are the detractors to give us a net promoter score of 37. Now, obviously, that would be better than the previous one, which was 20. How much better doesn't know. We're still not at 100. So it's one of those variables. And just kind of give you an idea of what kind of the program looks like. Here's a back-end net promoter score survey I do in Infusionsoft, which is a content management contact promotion system. And basically it's 60 days from the time someone's enrolled. So as soon as someone enrolls with us, 60 days later, I send out an email, and that email has the question very simply on it. How likely are you to recommend our school to a friend or colleague? And I can rank them depending on how they click. That email actually has links inside that email. So it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Each one of those is a link that I can then track back to and put them in either a net promoter, a passive, or a net detractor. And at any given point in time, I can pull up this metric and look at it. It's actually on my dashboard. It's one of the dashboard numbers that I look at every single week. And every time going into our quarterly marketing meetings, I make sure that I have this net promoter score in front of us for as many variables as I can test. So that's really all there is to it. And that all it is one email that goes out. Yeah, I get 30 to 40% of the people respond back to me, and then I have a net promoter score that, depending on sample size, that I can measure a lot. So I know we talked about the basic uses, but let's talk about some more advanced uses now of what we can do with this net promoter score and why it is so beautiful and so powerful to have, because it not just lets us rank different classes and rooms and schools against each other, we can actually do stuff with that. So let's look at first the promoters, the net promoters. Right? They're ones who've said that they are extremely likely or highly likely to recommend your school, my school, to a friend or colleague. So why not ask them for testimonials? Wouldn't that be a great person when the next month rolls around and we're looking to figure out who do I send my testimonial requests to, as I've talked about in other master classes? Why not ask them? Hey, would you like to give me a testimonial? Now, I wouldn't go and say, because you are a net promoter, I'd like you to give us this testimonial. That's not what you want to do. But maybe just randomly, kind of in the background, you want to send them stuff. How about if you send them marketing materials? These are people that have said that they would promote you. So why not send them home with maybe some marketing materials that they can take by their school, that they can take and drop off at the clubhouse in the neighborhood, that they can take to their church? Why not? Because they said they would. These might be people who you could send that marketing material with. You can also consider who could they be useful to introduce me to. Anyone who is a net promoter, I look up on LinkedIn. Where do they work? What church do they go to? Who do they know that I would like to know? That maybe I could ask them, hey, would you mind giving me an introduction? Even if it's just an introduction on LinkedIn or on Facebook. But yeah, would you mind giving me an introduction to Pastor Wills? I've been wanting to meet him for a long time, and he's been challenging to get in touch with. and I see that you actually go to his church. Would you mind introducing me? Great way to get those introductions because they are the promoters. They've said they love you. So why not use that to your advantage? And then the flip side is, of course, what do we do with the net detractors? The first thing I do is I believe in solving the problem. So when I get a net detractor, they go on my list of someone that I need to call. Because obviously something is not making them happy. What is it that's not making them happy? Now maybe they're a 6 and they're fine, they're not upset, but they don't really just love us. Okay, a certain number of people are always going to be that way. But maybe I can find out and figure out, is there something I could do to make them a 9 or a 10? I would also strongly suggest limiting promotional emails, calls, stuff like that to them. With the systems that I use, we can actually reduce the amount of emails we send out to them because they're not happy with us. We don't want to make them more angry or frustrated with us. So let's go ahead and limit promotional emails. But anyway, so that's the Net Promoter Score. Very simple. It is such a simple idea and so simple to explain, but yet so unbelievably powerful in the end what you can do with it because it lets you know who loves you, who doesn't, and how many people love you so you can compare and find traits, right? Success leaves a trail. Look for the classes, the schools, the teachers that have the unbelievably high Net Promoter Score. What is it about them, about that location, that makes them so loved? And how can you recreate that? A lot of times it's the small things, and it's not just about the money. So anyways, this has been Devin Murray with Attract More Families, and I just want to wish you all have a great and wonderful week. Take care, and God bless.